going to address the scapular system here. And we have to remember that the shoulder complex here works best when the shoulder blades are back. When shoulder blades are back, we have about 3 to 5 millimeters of clearance inside the shoulder joint, and that reduces friction. And at some level we instinctively know that, because if a person is trying to be tough and show the other person they're ready to fight, their shoulders usually go back into a ready position. So somewhere, somehow, we know that. What happens with us, especially modern day humans, we develop a force imbalance, and you can see here, Ruben's in great shape. He's still a little bit flexor biased, where his shoulders are forward a little bit. We'd actually like to see his shoulders down and back a little bit more, especially when he's exercising. So when we are exercising, we're going to be really exaggerating this motion, which means using less of his upper trap, more of his lower trap. And we can see his upper trap is very developed, very strong. Lower trap, not quite as strong. Because of that, you have an imbalance, which in part creates a shoulder blade that goes forward. Now there's other things that can cause that, like tightness across the front, and we're going to be addressing that as well. But the best way to learn the difference between the lower trap, which we want to facilitate, and the upper trap, which we want to inhibit, is through biofeedback. So I'm going to show you how we use an E&G unit to accomplish that. And now, with a lot of people, we're going to use one of these straps. Ruben has more muscle than the average person, so I'm actually going to tie a couple of these straps together. And then we're going to put this around kind of like a sash would be worn. So we're going to do this, and we're going around there. Good. And then I'm just going to really wrap that pretty snugly there, because this is what's going to hold the unit in place. I should try not to get the Velcro by his neck, because that can be a little bit uncomfortable. But this at least allows me to secure the biofeedback electrode or receiving electrode at the lower trap muscle area. So I'm going to take my biofeedback mechanism. I'm going to actually have you hold this in your left hand, Ruben, and then I'm going to slip this underneath your shirt. You'll feel something a little bit cold. Other than that, there's really no problem with sensitivity, because this does not actually create any electrical current or anything like that. It just reads electrical current. Now, with somebody like Ruben, again, he's got more muscle than the average person, so we're going to use a towel roll in here to actually make sure that electrode is even more secure against his skin, because he does have a little bit of a dip here that you're not going to run into most of the time, but on a more athletic individual, you definitely will see that being the case. So I'm going to put that right there, stretch that right there. Doing okay so far, Ruben? Great. So you can see we've adapted this a little bit by using two straps, and we're just pressing that in there. So go ahead and relax there. There we go. Now I'm going to turn this machine on, and I'm going to be turning that all the way up. Okay, now from here, Ruben, I'm going to have you, in fact, let's have you back up towards me just a little bit, just so I can put this thing on the table and show you what I need to do. Okay, so from here, I'm just going to have you do some, what we refer to as scaption, where you're just raising your arms through this range of motion. Okay? Nice and slow. There you go. Is what we actually see there is Ruben contracts that lower trap pretty well. A lot of people are not going to do that. You're going to have to train that. I'm going to actually make this a little bit more difficult for him by setting the threshold down. So now I'm setting the threshold all the way to 10. moving the threshold counterclockwise, and then we're going to do that again. And we see there that the green lights are raising, but it's not getting into the red, and you're not hearing the beep that you were before. So now we're going to challenge you to create a beep, even though it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And so I'm going to want you to squeeze your shoulder blades down and back until you start hearing that beep, and that beep tells you that you're successfully recruiting that muscle. And you know, let's try to do it without even raising the arms right now, just squeezing those down and back. And we can see now I've made it so difficult for Ruben that he can't recruit the muscle. So I'm going to set the threshold here just enough so that it's a challenge. I'm going to go from 10, let's try 3. Okay, let's try that. There we go. Good, and then relax. Now I'm going to go to 5. Let's try that again. There you go. So 5 is perfect because he has to fully contract to fill that muscle. And I don't know if you can hear the beeping, but let's get that on camera over here where we can at least see the green lights. So there's the green light. You're going down and back, and we can see he's just barely getting into that red. And what I'm going to do is let Ruben see that now. Okay, so I want you to get the dots into the red. There you go. So we have him really struggling to do that, but that's how you learn to recruit a muscle. So as we're training in the gym, we're going to say, remember that lower trap. We're going to be getting you to recruit that lower trap. And you know, we'll just practice that a little bit. Okay, let's try one more of those and see how you get.
Almost.
Yeah.
Nope.
And let's try just going back like this, leading like that. You see how we get it there? And sometimes you can take a person into the gym and do a purple sport cord, you know, lower trap pull, and really get those recruited. But we're trying to, there we go, we're trying to recruit those lower traps. Now if we want to inhibit the upper traps, we can go in here to the opposite side, and we can actually put this on the upper trap. I'll have you step forward for just a second. There we go. And then I'm going to put this underneath the upper trap. There we go. And now this is just the opposite. Now we're trying to inhibit a muscle. So I am actually going to set the threshold here to a more difficult level, which would be a 0.5. Okay, now the game has changed. Now when you elevate, we do not want it to go into the red. We do not want to hear that beeping, because that means you're using your upper trap. I'm trying to teach you to reduce the use of your upper trap a little bit. So let's go ahead and do the scaption movement. And we're here in the, we're getting it beeping, but better than most. So you already have the athletic ability to shut that muscle down. Again, we're not hearing that. If you see the green right now, you're trying to keep it as low into the green as you can. Now, is what most people are going to do is they're going to tighten that muscle as they're elevating. Go ahead and show what most people would do. And you can hear that, and it's dinging. That's what a person's going to do that's never thought about relaxing their upper trap when they're raising their arm. Ruben's obviously pretty good at it. With our patients, we would not be able to set the threshold at 0.5. There's no way they would be successful. We would have to probably go over to probably to a 1 level, and then we would find some success there. You want to find a point of success and then just make it a little bit more difficult on the person to really challenge them to find that muscle. But no matter what we do out in the gym, these principles are going to apply. We're going to be protecting the low back with the transverse abdominis, and we're going to make sure our shoulder is in a good functional position so that it's less likely to get injured. We're going to do that by recruiting the lower trap muscle more than the upper trap muscle.